I am Courtney Carlson, and today we are talking about autonomy, which is my favorite subject because I'm such a nerd. But autonomy just means the sense of self, and if you were able to develop a great sense of self out of your childhood, then you won't know this and you won't need this, which is great, and I love that for you. But for someone like me, I went through a large healing journey, emotional healing journey from my childhood. And really, my sense of self was like warped, it was broken, it was skewed, it was not good. I had a lot of low self esteem, I had a lot of crazy beliefs about myself because of the things that I went through. And so you might be able to relate to that. If this is helpful for you, stay with me, and I'm going to teach you everything I know about autonomy. Because there's so much permission in autonomy. It's really wild. So if I back up a little bit, autonomy and that sense of self is developmentally appropriate during the ages of like 13 to 17, which is really cool for me because I have a teenager right now. My kids are getting a little bit older, but for a while I had 3 teens and I teach middle school. And for me, a lot of bringing back some of the pieces of myself and going through healing looked like going back to that place in myself when I was 13 to 17 and kind of picking up the pieces of my identity, picking up the pieces of my personality, places that I shut down, places I didn't know needed to develop. And so if we have a healthy sense of self, or we're allowed to develop that in a healthy family system, it looks like this. You are allowed to have your own needs. You are allowed to have your own opinion. You're allowed to have your own voice. You're allowed to speak up. You are allowed to have privacy. You are allowed to say yes and say no to things that are genuine. Do you want to go to, this Christmas parade with us? And there's no obligation on the other side of that. It's like, oh no, that's not really me. That's not really something that I enjoy to do. It's these micro moments of self-expression, of self-exertion, kind of like where you're exerting yourself, your voice, in a healthy way. And so all of those micro moments of discovering your personality, discovering your interests, your likes, your opinions, even into like hot button topics of politics and current societal situations. If you are allowed to discover for yourself what you believe and who you are separate from your family, autonomy just means you are your own entity. I am a whole person separate from my family. I'm still a part of my family, but each one of us gets to be an individual and then in connection with each other. And so the opposite of that, and what I find a lot for like codependent families, or if there are a lot of emotional wounds in a family or narcissistic abuse, it doesn't really matter if a family system is dysfunctional or doesn't have like positive or healthy emotional functions in it. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word there. Then a lot of what happens is the family system that's kind of skewed or dysfunctional, it actually aims to shut down and squash autonomy. I've seen it so many times, is because in let's just stick with a codependent family as an example because it will help me with my teaching. But if we think of a codependent family that is really dependent on each other for their emotional needs, like I need you to take care of me and I'm taking care of your needs, and the lines are all skewed. In that kind of family system, autonomy actually threatens the family system because at the very core, the root of a codependent family is this fear of abandonment. And so if you think of it, developing a sense of self means potentially that you are going to leave the family, which is good. You're supposed to not leave the family like for good, but we are supposed to raise our children. Hold on. If we are allowed to develop a sense of self, what happens in healthy family systems is they're not afraid of abandonment because they know that their children are whole and they're going to leave the house and they're going to come back in moments. That doesn't happen in something like a codependent family because, again, if one person in this family steps out and starts to exert their own mind, their own opinions, their own sense of self, their own desires, their own needs, they start to branch out and make other relationships, the family system feels threatened, feels like you're abandoning me, which is going to feel that way when any kind of too much closeness starts to separate and that person feels abandoned. And a lot of what happens in a codependent family is they squash autonomy like early on, toddler years, child years, because they know that that threatens a sense of family system. Now, I don't believe that people are like diabolical. They're not plotting this thing. It's just something that naturally happens in something like a codependent family that is afraid of abandonment. It's just something naturally that's happening. People aren't plotting like, I'm going to squash her autonomy. Like, it doesn't work like that. It's just from a relational standpoint and a psychology standpoint, this is what's happening. If you are afraid of abandonment and someone starts to exert their autonomy separate from you, your abandonment wound is going to come up. Okay, I'm saying all of this to say you can retrieve and you can go back and you can regather your sense of autonomy and your sense of self. And I know that because I did this at about 34 years old. It was the first time that I was like, okay, I don't have these pieces and what it looks like. So let's switch to kind of the practical here because this is at 7 minutes and I want you to walk away with something practical. So if you get a blank piece of paper, this is what autonomy is going to look like. You need to rediscover from a blank piece of paper, from a blank slate, who am I? And I know that that's a big question, kind of can be overwhelming at moments, but what you're going to start to discover is all of those things that I've named in the past in this video, but you're going to discover like what more parts of your personality, more parts of your creativity, which looks like building a list of hobbies and interests. You are going to allow yourself to explore your own opinion about things and even about some of those hot button topics. You're going to look at your politics. You're going to look at your belief system and why do I believe this? Do I just believe it because my family does? Or is this something that really means something to me? Do I value this belief system? And if it is, then great, then keep it. But it's kind of like I picture this paper in front of you with all of these categories that looks like values, opinions, personality, creativity, hobby, decisions in life, where I want to live, what I do, all of those things. It's like going back to the drawing board and deciding for yourself what you were supposed to be figuring out in those teen years. And so then once you have this kind of blueprint for, okay, I think these are parts of me that I want to bring back, allow yourself to explore what those look like. So for me, again, when I was 34 and I was going through this, I really had this desire to begin to paint, and I had never painted before. So I just got canvases and paint and in my backyard, set it up and started to put paint on canvases. This is a painting I made back here because it was a love of mine. So it doesn't have to be because it's a hot, like a career or you're going to sell your paintings or whatever. It could just be because you are rebuilding your sense of self. You're discovering who you are and you want to explore this creativity part of you. Okay, hopefully that's helpful. If you want a little bit more help, check out my website. I have some workbooks and PDFs there especially one about self-discovery and how to do more of this process. And just like always, take this to the Lord and have a blessed day.